the old cliche goes, it's a dinosaur. But
improved suspension, track, and a computer-based fire control weapon system. A laser rangefinder aims a 105mm main gun. The main gun is fully stabilized when traveling on rough terrain for maximum projectile accuracy. Many of the Marines were landed in FMC's Amphibious Assault Vehicle 7s. These big armored personnel carriers can cruise at sea. Mine-clearing land charges fire explosive-filled hoses across the minefields.
What do I want you to do? Thanks.
The hoses then detonate, exploding any mines buried under the sand. This creates a safe 10-yard wide path through which the tanks can now safely penetrate enemy territory. As the Marines advanced farther into a decimated Kuwait, skies turned dark even though it was barely mid-morning. Then suddenly out of the smoke they came, prisoners. First a handful, then hundreds, then thousands. Victory took only a few days. In hard-fought battles at places like the Bergen oil fields, the Marines and Joint Arab Forces managed to liberate Kuwait in less than a week.
I'm sure we don't need those floors closer. Got the 6 Alexander.
You're both studs, I hope you know that.
Yeah, that's us. We are it.
The U.S. military supervised the exodus, bravely risking their lives under the constant threat of sniper attack. As they fired from the now vacated apartments, Noriega's Dignity Battalion gunned down its own people. Motivated by the inherent evil of Manuel Noriega, Army Rangers spread into the countryside to secure several strategic points, including establishing roadblocks at the neck of the Cologne Peninsula.
Nerves that are shattering, that's what I get.
Overwhelmed and foreseeing an impending defeat, many of Noriega's own Dignity Battalion turned themselves into U.S. military personnel, who still took every precaution during the enemy's arrest. Panama was now in a pathetic state, with its leader in hiding and its armies surrendering in a swift succession. The people called for justice, tired of years of tyranny under a man that used the economy of Panama as his own personal bank account, and disgusted that their country served the needs of Colombian drug lords. Windows shattered, vehicles obliterated, concrete walls now piles of rubble and dust. The burned-out barracks would no longer be a refuge for Noriega's PDF. The destruction of the Comandancia was a clear indication that the empire of Manuel Noriega would soon be eradicated. They took only a few possessions, fully expecting never to see their homes again.
Studs. You're both studs, I hope you know that.
Basic surf passage and rock portage prepare trainees for landings with tactical equipment loads.
Most of the men feel that the name SEAL team is what carries you real reward. you could give a medal out for 50-60% of the missions we go on. Since you can't have that many medals, and the value of being a SEAL, I think, is what they're really concerned with.
Armed Navy patrol boats and gunship helicopters answer the challenge. SEALs are specialists in being where they are least expected. Getting to the job may mean jumping out of a boat, a helicopter, or an airplane.
You have to want this type duty in order to survive this training. Some people, I suppose, want to prove something to themselves. Some people, maybe they want to prove something to somebody else.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Every day. Gotta run. Gotta run. Every day. Gotta run. Gotta run. Gotta be number one. Number one. Gotta be number one. Number one. Gotta be airborne. 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 Ranger.
Southern California is famous for its sun-baked beaches, temperate climate, and jewel green seas. Against this tropical setting, a unique breed of fighter prepares for the world of special warfare. SEALs, for sea, air, and land combat, are specialists who have gained a worldwide reputation as being the toughest and best-trained warriors on the face of the earth. Many people believe these sea, air, and land teams are gung-ho commandos who regularly embark on impossible missions to the darkest corners of the world. SEALs view themselves quite differently. For them, of course, the mission is all important, but not at the expense of the SEALs' most important mandate: all for one, and one for all. The sea is a battlefield that must be dominated. Navy SEALs must endure long hours of swimming, diving, and rafting in order to succeed at mission objectives. Working together makes the grueling regimen a little easier. The spirit of teamwork in the tight-knit SEAL community has no equal in other branches of the military. Teamwork is the glue that bonds these supermen together. With such a weapon, they become a fighting unit that simply will not be stopped. Teamwork coupled with training. For their secret missions to be compromised by a guy out to bathe himself in glory by doing it himself is absolutely unacceptable to the SEALs. Being a SEAL is about something more than a fleeting moment of glory.
I think it's basically desire to be the best. I enjoy working with highly motivated people, real cohesive people, and people that have a specific mission and want to go out and do it.
I want to stay till the job is done. I want to be a SEAL team member.
I want to cut off all of my hair.
I want to cut off all my hair.
During World War II, predecessors to Navy SEALs, the Underwater Demolition Teams, or UDTs, performed a secret mission on D-Day. Launching themselves into rubber rafts from high-speed landing craft, UDTs would swim several miles through icy waters and clear away beach landing obstacles, sometimes in the face of heavy enemy machine gun fire. UDTs knew that if they didn't succeed in removing all lethal hazards to the invading forces, then troops landing at Normandy might otherwise die within minutes of hitting the beach. Speed and skill matched courage and endurance as the UDTs eliminated hazardous impediments from shorelines. The clearing away process had to be done just prior to the actual invasion, or else the enemy might have time to lay down more obstacles. At the beaches of Omaha and Utah, the UDTs exposed themselves repeatedly while deactivating underwater mines and booby traps. But what is it like to go through the most punishing training program in the world, simply to be the best? At the Bucklew Center for Naval Special Warfare, 70% of those candidates that apply fail to get through the demanding regimen of BUDS, or Basic Underwater Demolition School. These trainees might confess that the key to success in completing BUDS training involves a powerful mental attitude, a mindset for endurance geared to excel against the high odds of failure. Such determination will be needed, even in the beginning stages of training.
We live in the water. There's two facets of the SEAL team community. There's the land warfare and there's the underwater warfare and stuff. So you do a lot of stuff in and around the water. You need to get to an objective. You may need to use the water as your element. You need to be comfortable in the water. So that's what we're trying to teach them, how to be confident in the water and build their confidence.
One way SEALs are unique in the special warfare community is that their capabilities include working on and under the water. SEALs are assigned partners known as dive buddies, and they will dive and swim for many hours in a single day. The water is both a friend and an enemy. SEALs will come to understand it, to use it, to swim and fight with it, but they will always realize that if not for their specialized training and trust in their fellow dive buddies, the water is a creature that could effortlessly defeat them. SEALs will even memorize the number of kicks and strokes required to swim from one end of the pool to the other. Because many missions will be at night, SEALs might have to swim for miles without the aid of a compass. Keeping track of kicks and strokes might make the difference in getting back home safely or getting hopelessly lost at sea. They say familiarity breeds contempt. But SEALs know that the more practice they get, the better chance they will have one day to survive in enemy territory. An admirable attitude, perhaps. Yet an instructor might see this performance and merely say, "That was real nice, ladies. Now I want some push-ups." A SEAL would take this order in stride. Panting and half frozen, he will work through the pain. He will not quit, because he's determined to be the best. The Pacific Theater in World War II was an island-to-island war, and UDTs were crucial to each island's invasion preparations. Working with special apparatus, UDTs sneaked in close to shore and measured water depth and underwater soil structures. If a man-made obstacle or underwater mine was found, the job was simple: study it, then, just before the invasion begins, blast it out of existence. Using the water as cover, UDTs could conceal themselves from enemy eyes. But on land, UDT divers risked enemy detection as they collected vital sand samples. The Japanese forces were sometimes only a few hundred feet from the beach, so UDTs had to work accurately and fast. The data UDTs collected would help Marines decide if these beaches were strong enough to support heavy invasion vehicles and troops. To eliminate underwater obstacles, high explosives would be required. Powerful detonation packs resistant to water and corrosion would be attached to targets and then secured. Placement of the packs is critical. Obstacles only partially damaged could still cause problems for Marine landing crafts. The packs are equipped with special tie cords, which are pulled once the explosive is set. Again, speed and teamwork are the key words. The lethal explosive packs must be rigged so that they can be detonated simultaneously. The placing of the packs is no less important than the unfurling of the detonation cord that will tie all of them together. At Iwo Jima, Guam, and Okinawa, the UDTs cleared thousands of yards of beach and shore in this manner. The enemy learned that UDTs worked hard and worked fast, and when they were finished, the results were explosive.
Drown proofing is one of the elements that they have to go through in first phase. In every step, every phase of the training here at Naval Special Warfare Center, they have different criterions that they have to meet, and this is one of the stepping stones. What it does is it tests their water capability. If they're uncomfortable here and we can't get them past this step, then in third phase when they do full competency, okay, with the diving rig on, they're going to panic there also. So we're just trying to get them comfortable in the water. Some of these kids have never even done anything more than been in a wading pool maybe or whatever. You never know when you're going to be involved in something where you're going to have an adverse condition like this. You know, who knows? You know, you may be tied up somewhere and be able to get free and get away by doing this.
The practice of bobbing is part of a series of BUDS drown-proofing exercises. BUDS is the 6-month, 4-phase program that these men must complete to achieve the elite status of full SEAL membership. Their arms and legs tied, SEAL trainees will practice dive after dive in this manner, simulating worst-case scenarios of capture and escape. Bobbing is sometimes painful, but it will be nothing compared to what these trainees will endure at the climax of the first phase of BUDS training, known as Hell Week. The second and third phases of BUDS involves more swimming, diving, and land combat tactics, while the pre-phase and first phase determine eligibility for the harder training to follow. First phase is just beginning, and some trainees are struggling through bobbing. The cords that bind their feet and hands cut through the flesh without mercy. But if a trainee doesn't like this part of the course, a comparatively gentle phase of BUDS training, then his chance for finishing the rest of the program is virtually non-existent. Trainees for the SEAL program come from all branches of the military. The same standards apply to both officers and grunts. In the end, all volunteers who finish this punishing trial-by-fire training course will be considered equal. For SEAL membership recognizes one fact above all. To have passed the monumental ordeals leading up to becoming a SEAL means that you are the most motivated, disciplined, toughest fighter around. And for the enemy, you are his worst nightmare come to life. It was during the Korean War that the underwater demolition teams began to evolve into what today are the highly versatile SEAL teams. During the landings at Incheon, Wonsan, Iwon, and Chinampo, UDTs performed as they had during World War II, clearing away beach landing obstacles and deactivating water-rigged mines preparing for the invasion. Now, however, they expanded their mission objectives to work up from the beaches and penetrate inland. A tight-knit unit of 6 to 7 men, each with specific responsibilities, moved off the sand and behind enemy lines, working as land guerrillas. The most important tools of these UDT teams remain speed and stealth. Rafts were hauled ashore, then quickly dragged off and hidden, while all traces of a landing were wiped away. Again, it was in fast, then out fast. The UDTs of Korea were responsible for night demolition raids against enemy bridges, railway tunnels, and vital communication facilities. They were gone before the enemy could discover their presence or their deadly effectiveness. Hand-to-hand combat. While teamwork is emphasized in every facet of BUDS training, there is one area where the prospective SEAL team member will be most alone. Here, the SEAL will learn the lightning-quick stratagems of personal warfare. Here, he will learn to turn his body into a lethal weapon. Offensive and defensive maneuvers are exchanged. Deadly parries to the midsection, chest, and head are repeated over and over. SEALs will come to understand the human body in terms of its vulnerability to attack, and they will acquire the awesome knowledge and skill of delivering a fatal blow with a minimal amount of effort. It is a worst-case scenario that in a mission, SEAL team operatives will find themselves separated from their unit, forcing them to act on their own without the benefit of team backup. Yet being separated is an all-too-real possibility. Perhaps the lives of innocent hostages or the lives of fellow SEALs hinge on what kind of action one lone SEAL might take in a close-quarter fight with a terrorist. Training prepares the SEAL to act quickly and make snap decisions under pressure. The lesson learned today will ensure that such a decision is the right one in enemy territory. These trainees engage in a run and tackle maneuver common to this phase of training. Here, physical conditioning is paramount, but it is never overridden by the sheer mental discipline and motivation of the individual. Without the steel resolve to follow through on what may be a struggle to the death, even a superior athletic specimen is vulnerable to defeat. Mental conditioning is constant for these fighters, as the thought of failure for a Navy SEAL is absolutely unacceptable. SEAL team members are introduced to land warfare during second and third phases of BUDS. The tactical portion of training is geared to honing combat skills, which will ensure a successful mission behind enemy lines. Like the UDT teams in Korea, SEAL teams are made up of 7 or 8 men. Each man is assigned a specific position, such as point, rear security, grenadier, communications, automatic weapons, medic, and platoon leader. Each man knows that he is responsible to the team as a whole. Veteran SEALs have been known to joke among themselves that they may not trust their teammates with their girls, their cars, or their money, but with their lives, they trust them without question. Trust and teamwork will provide the all-important cutting edge in combat. Teamwork will make the SEALs as formidable on land as they are in the water. Shortly after its official inception in 1962 as a Naval Special Forces detachment, the Vietnam conflict began. Some of the stories of SEAL team missions are terrifying to hear.
Well, when I came in, SEAL team was just in its infancy. This is back in the mid-60s. And we were predominantly UDT at that particular time until about 1966, when we started making the transition from UDT to SEAL team. Went through some very vigorous, very quick training. And the next thing I knew, I was downtown Saigon with SEAL Team 1 Delta Platoon, if my memory serves me correct.
The Vietnam conflict was unlike any other in U.S. history. Unpopular at home and abroad, facing an elusive and hardened enemy, U.S. forces had great difficulty in achieving a decisive victory. Where conventional warfare failed, a special breed of fighting man was brought in to win at any cost. Navy SEALs were rarely seen by other troops in Vietnam. SEALs appeared distinctly non-military, seldom wearing helmets, and their dress ranging from standard issue to t-shirts and jeans. To the enemy, they were known as the men with green faces, and their chief functions were behind the lines reconnaissance, interdiction, ambushes, and sabotage.
A typical mission mostly was interdiction, ambushes, trying to cut into supply lines, those types of things. Places where we worked at were mostly in the game warden zone, which was east of Saigon, approximately 30 miles. Train-wise, thick mud, heavy vegetation, and full of bad guys.
The bad guys were the North Vietnamese regulars. The NVAs were highly motivated fighters who were trained for jungle and guerrilla warfare. It was through this soggy hell of excruciating heat, debilitating disease, poisonous snakes, and voracious mosquitoes that the Navy SEALs trekked and endured on countless missions. Booby traps such as punji pits and tripwire mines might lurk under every leaf, behind every twig. The leech-infested mud was hot and treacherous, making travel at times as slow as walking underwater. Even for SEALs, the jungles of Vietnam were sprawling swamps of death and discomfort, yet their effect against the enemy was mind-boggling. The legend among the NVA and Viet Cong was that when SEALs came out of the bush, death and chaos for their enemies was assured. It was said that SEALs never slept and never ate, and if they took you with them, you never returned. Even their choice of weapons was different. The M16 was often discarded for the more destructive Stoner light machine gun, a weapon capable of firing 1,000 rounds of ammunition per minute. As far as the Viet Cong were concerned, Navy SEALs were the most ferocious commandos in the world.
On a daytime mission, we would do what's called parakeet ops, to where we could bum ourselves a helo and drop into an area where there would be a common liaison we were trying to make a hit. And they're real quick, intel-driven, precise operations to get one guy. You drop in his backyard, you take the people in that can identify him, you bag him up, you take him home, you're done in 3 hours. Those were the favorite type ops.
Navy SEALs did not operate like regular Army soldiers. They were Minutemen who were called upon for specialized missions, usually the most dangerous ones to be found. Flying in the UH-1 Huey assault helicopters, SEALs were whisked away to locations throughout Vietnam and Cambodia on extreme short notice. SEALs were responsible for 600 registered kills in combat. Amazingly, only 20 SEALs were killed in the entire 10-year conflict. Even when assignments seemed almost suicidal in nature, SEALs always planned and focused in terms of victory and a safe return home. Navy SEALs were respected by all who came across them in Vietnam. Veteran SEALs have been known to say that getting the job done was important, but keeping a sense of humor and a cold beer on the ice sure helped after a mission. The parakeet op mission was a common one, but even so, full focus and concentration was needed. Invariably, the drop zone would be deep in enemy-held territory that offered little cover or protection. The SEALs operated largely in the Rung Sat Special Zone of South Vietnam, rather than with the regular troops in the Mekong Delta. A single drop into enemy territory and the systematic search and capture of key North Viet Cong leaders became routine over time. Bagging a bad guy and bringing him home was the kind of assignment the SEALs liked best of all. At last, it's mission accomplished. But SEALs will not be self-congratulatory. The extraction boats may be on the way, but the bush is hostile, and that means the enemy could still be just around the corner. Sharp eyes and ears were needed until the end of the war.
This is the kind of guy that you entrust your life to 24 hours a day, whether you're in the field or not. You're going to be wanting to know where he's at. He's going to wonder where you're at. Are you okay, fine? If the flag goes up, it's like a magnet. And they lock out, and their mission objective is to go do it and come home and have a couple of cold ones. It's as simple as that. And have fun while you're at it.
The SEAL trainees have been up since 4 in the morning. They've run 10 miles already and have finished a 2-mile swim in bone-chilling water. They've been ordered to roll in mud and sand and then stand at shivering attention. Such hardship should end here, but this is merely the warm-up procedure for log physical training. This exercise begins with rolling in the sand, followed by calisthenics. Next to the trainees are 300-pound logs. The purpose of this training is to again stress the value of teamwork. Lifting and racing with the logs will teach the trainees to work as a single cohesive unit.
Right hand starting position, move.
It is said that to be a SEAL, you have to want pain. Instructors overseeing log physical training will reply quickly, pain is what you will get. SEALs, however, will never complain. They know that to be the best, it is necessary to endure and experience the worst. Vigilant and prepared, SEAL teams will be at the forefront of our nation's defense efforts. The Navy Special Forces are the SEALs. SEALs are not only the most fearsome combat swimmers on Earth, but they are skilled land guerrillas and parachutists. Only 1,000 or so SEALs exist in the world. Few men could survive the demands of the training or the secret missions SEAL teams are assigned. Navy SEALs continue to hone skills already learned, but as time passes, they must dive and swim longer than ever before and perfect techniques in combat using powerful new weapon systems. The missions that they accept will be the ones that are believed by the rest of the military to be impossible. But the word impossible for a Navy SEAL is simply not in his vocabulary.
We get paid to do what everybody else has to pay to do. We jump out of airplanes, we blow things up, we shoot weapons, and we go diving. Not many people get to do that.
Underwater demolition team training began in 1943 at Fort Pierce, Florida, producing a specimen of man who was at home with mud, exhaustion, water, and cold. Through the years, training became tougher and longer, and when SEALs were commissioned in 1962, the most punishing program in the world would encompass crawling through mud and obstacle courses filled with live fire and explosions. Early SEALs evolved directly from the underwater demolition teams of World War II and Korea. At the beginning of the Vietnam conflict, land training was geared toward conducting unconventional warfare and counter-guerrilla operations in swamp and riverine environments. In the early years of Vietnam, training was sometimes rushed, but today SEAL initiation will take 26 weeks to complete. Fast roping into muddy, frozen swamps and exposure to nerve-wrenching live fire detonations prepares SEALs for the climax of their training, known as Hell Week. Hell Week will keep SEAL trainees muddy, frozen, and wet for 6 back-breaking days and nights. They will sleep only 4 hours and have practically nothing to eat or drink. Historically, Hell Week is what makes or breaks a trainee. Few can tolerate the torturous demands of this grueling phase of SEAL training. Hell Week is as tough as it gets. If a SEAL trainee survives Hell Week, he moves on to rappelling.
Yes, rappelling off the tower is it's a lot of fun. But at first, when you're just edging off the side of the little tower there, it gets a little tentative. But once you get your feet on your perpendicular with the wall, you kind of get a feel for it. It's you feel like you have a lot more control. And then they make sure that you know you have control by making you take your hands off, put them on your head, and letting the belay man take out the slack.
A single nylon line keeps the SEAL suspended in midair while teammates hold him steady.
You're looking down there and you're wondering whether or not you're going to be able to, if everything's going to work or not, or just. But it's not that long. By the end, you feel like you know what's going on and that you're on the ground and everything, and you feel like, yeah, that was a lot of fun. This is the kind of training that I'm enjoying, and that's what it's all about. High speed, low drag.
It's good. Take your time. Okay, 1 foot, step down. No, go ahead, let some slack out. Sir, lean back. Okay, that's good. Walk your way down, work your way down to the first line. Nice and slow, like you're walking down a building. Hey, take that guide and relax. Step like you're walking down there. That's it. Bring your feet comfortable width apart. See my feet? There you go. Okay, sit back. Sit back. Sit back. Don't go down, sit back. Lean back. Take 3 really large bounces, big frog bounces off the wall. 3. Go. Big. Big. Bend your knees. Big. Yes. Again. Again. Good. Perfect. Okay. If you sit up, you're going to lose your center of balance. And your feet are going to come out and you're going to face that wall. Okay, so lean back. And that'll bring your feet in first.
The instruction process in this dangerous training phase is slow and simple.
Wait a minute, it's taking up slack.
2 hands in that rope down there.
Pull him off of there. Good. Oh boy, you're gonna get a ride. Okay, sir. Guide hand on your head.
Guide hand.
Guide hand. Good. Sir, brake hand on your head. Sit back a little bit. Sit back. Sit back. Look up here. Look up here. Okay. Take a big breath. Put your guide hand on. Put your guide hand on. Take a break. Tell Station 1 Blake, give slack.
Station 1 Blake, get slack.
Station 1 Blake, give me slack.
Get your feet on the wall, give a break. Good, excellent. Okay, Mr. Massery. That bounding that we did, the jumping off the wall, and the throwing of the brake arm out here. Look down underneath your armpit, like this. Bring it back here. You'll be all set. Look where you're going. Look back at the rock. All set? Move back. Good, sir. Lean back. Lean back. All the way. Good. Excellent. Hey, man.
Rappelling is preparation for air-to-surface jumps known as insertions, which will frequently take place from inside helicopters. Diving through the hellhole of a CH-46 Sea Knight, SEALs will utilize their rappelling training. Before this fundamental exercise is allowed, though, the SEAL will have mastered his fast roping techniques from this 10-story tower at the Bucklew Training Center. The highly skilled practice of rappelling is now ready to be put to practical use. In 1983, Operation Urgent Fury was initiated to liberate the small Caribbean island of Grenada. Navy SEALs were flown in on a C-130. Their mission was to parachute into the occupied countryside and rescue the Governor General from the violent revolutionaries that had taken over the island. The SEAL team was well equipped with HK-MP5 submachine guns and powerful grenade launchers. But the jungle was eerily quiet, and there was no initial resistance on the way to the governor's mansion. Finally, the mission objective was sighted, but the SEALs continued to exercise caution as they repositioned themselves for a closer look. The governor was safe in his house, but outside chaos prevailed. Revolutionaries pinned the SEALs down for hours until the Marines could provide relief. Submarines can be ideal platforms for many SEAL operations, as they can do everything from punching through polar ice packs to lying motionless on the ocean floor. Their sonar-absorbing construction allows them to deploy SEAL teams off of coastlines and remain undetected. Once dropped off at a particular location, SEALs can perform their missions within a predetermined time, while subs move off and later return for extraction. SEALs still work closely with the underwater demolition teams. UDT and SEAL divers will lock out of submarine escape hatches. Seawater must be flooded into the lockout hatch chamber and pressurized to match the approximate pressure outside of the sub in order for the divers to be able to exit safely. The deployment chamber is small and confining, and SEALs must deal with the claustrophobic nature of submarine insertions. Missions by UDTs and SEALs will encompass many aspects of covert warfare. Navy SEALs have a number of specialized vehicles that assist them in propelling toward their mission objectives. A high-tech submersible known as a Swimmer Delivery Vehicle, or SDV, can be launched from a submarine and used as a silent intruder to carry SEAL teams to their target through darkened waters. The submersible is a welcome utility, especially when missions occur in Arctic seas and the water temperature is near freezing. SEALs care for their SDVs and weapons as they do for each other. The HKMP-5 submachine gun, or M60, are among SEAL favorites in assault hardware. Like SEALs themselves, they will perform expertly on extreme short notice. In December 1989, U.S. military forces invaded Panama. Operation Just Cause was supported by a SEAL team from Little Creek, Virginia. Its mission was to seize Payatia Airfield near the Presidential Palace and cut off a possible escape route for notorious drug dealer and strongman Manuel Noriega. The SEAL team encountered unexpectedly fierce resistance from soldiers of the Panamanian Defense Force. When the battle had ended, the SEALs had captured the strip, where Noriega kept his private aircraft. So ferocious was the conflict that most walls and vehicles in the flyway of rapid-fire machine gun strafing were literally cut to pieces. Bullets hailed through the air as thick as a swarm of hornets. When the shooting was over, there was very little left in the way of an airport at all. Manuel Noriega's personal plane was shredded by SEAL assault fire, but 4 young SEALs had been cut down in the heat of battle. Family and loved ones would be shocked by the news. Other SEALs were also saddened, but they knew something that people outside the SEAL community could never hope to understand.
I am saddened beyond words that these men are no longer in our midst, but I am uplifted in the knowledge that each of them, without exception, was doing exactly what they wanted to do at the moment death called. They were being SEALs.
Missions come and go, and friends and colleagues may fall in the line of duty, but training never ceases. Because with more training and the perfection of techniques already learned and honed, SEALs realize that the high-risk percentages against them will next time be lowered.
I don't want to hear one boot come down. Down easy. As you were.
The road to placement in a SEAL team is paved with the kind of obstacles that even a demolitions expert cannot remove. The punishing trials to be endured are daunting at best. Instructors see many individuals who apply to BUDS training as being attracted to the mystique of the SEAL world without understanding the true demands involved. They report that the Rambos who come in and do push-ups or jumping jacks all day often quit in the first week. One instructor describes it as having fire in the gut. Without the fire, you're lost. To be a SEAL is to be 2% physical and 98% motivational. Training, training, training. For SEALs, it is a holy word. Pain here will be translated later into life on the battlefield. Calisthenics are repeated and SEALs are pushed to give a little more every time. When one phase of warm-up is completed, instead of a rest period, SEALs will be driven further. Frequently, an atmosphere of battle-like confusion is brought to the training ground, motivating SEAL trainees to remain alert at all times.
Get him on the road! Go! Down on the line, down the line, go! Go!
Instructors have said that if you want to be a Rambo, you'll never make it as a SEAL. Rambo would never be able to complete arduous SEAL training. Working for the rest of the team allows SEALs to give the extra 10% needed to get the job done. The spirit of this kind of teamwork will allow SEALs to face any challenge with confidence and determination, along with enemies that want nothing less than world domination. In January of 1991, Desert Storm was the world's military response to Iraq's unprovoked invasion of the oil-rich nation of Kuwait. Once again, the SEALs were flown into a crisis situation that demanded their special skills and expertise. Navy SEALs were responsible for two key missions in the Persian Gulf War between the Allies and Iraq. The first objective by the team was to parachute from a C-130 behind enemy lines in western Iraq, undetected and carrying specialized equipment and weaponry. Their goal was to find the destructive Scud missile launchers and paint them for targeting. Painting a target means aiming a laser beam at an object, thus creating a heat source that a guided air-to-ground missile can lock onto and destroy. Finding the elusive ground launchers was difficult enough. Destroying them would take the combined efforts of the SEALs and the devastating air power of the U.S. Navy. A-6 Intruder and A-7 Corsair II attack jets took off from aircraft carriers, ready to deliver their destructive payload. The second key mission was an amphibious invasion of Kuwait conducted by a SEAL team as darkness fell on Saturday, February 23rd, on the eve of the Allied ground offensive. Braving the toxic Gulf waters, the SEALs moved on to Kuwaiti beaches. Their mission was to create a diversion for Iraqi ground forces. If they could fool the Iraqis into believing that a full-scale invasion would take place from the sea instead of by land, then heavily armored elements of Iraq's Republican Guard could be distracted and confused. The battle raged for hours. The success of the mission was overwhelming. 2 Iraqi divisions had moved to the beach to confront the SEALs, thus weakening their defensive positioning against U.S. ground forces, which would soon attack from the west. Another day of performing the impossible is finished for the SEALs, but if the need arises, they will answer the call of duty again and again. SEALs will be ready to fight for peace, and they know that their actions and responsibilities are ultimately for the betterment and security of not only their nation, but for the free world as well.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, every day, gotta run, every day, gotta run, gotta be number one, gotta be number one, gotta be airborne, Ranger, airborne, Ranger, running hard, hey, all the way, hey, never quit, G, gotta go, E, every day.